to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, are there additions or corrections to the addition? Or
None.
to the agenda?
None.
Madam Chair, I move to accept the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Motion and second to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The minutes from your 8:20 meeting are in your packet.
Motion approved. Second.
Motion and second to approve the minutes from the August 20th meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public comment. Seeing none, we'll move on to Liberty.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I would like to introduce to you Emily Ton. She is our new eligibility worker with Human Services. She's been with us for about a month and a half, but she's been at training most Tuesdays, so we haven't been able to get her there. So that's why I'm coming on the first Tuesday to introduce her.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks. Steph.
Good morning.
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 Is there any questions on the auditor warrants? It wasn't that many, so.
Is that good?
That's a good thing, yes, it's always a good thing.
I think so too.
Are there any questions?
Okay. And also, I just gave you an information, last Wednesday, we had the tax forfeiture sale for the 2 parcels in the city of Chicago, and both sold to Steve Howe. So, that went well, we had 5 people here, and so it went real good. Okay?
I do have one question on auditor's warrants.
Okay.
Riley Brothers Construction on payday 8/28. First pay request, is that for patching?
Yes, it
Okay.
is. Yep.
Sorry.
Is that it? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ellen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You should have the levy request in front of you in the budget. And I did put the last couple of years' budgets on there for comparison for you. And I'm not sure if you want me to just kind of go through it or if you have questions, but I can just kind of whip through some of the basics. Okay, so in the income section, the top dwelling and utilities, that's Grandview and Wildwoods. Wildwoods is profitable, Grandview is supported by HUD subsidy, which fluctuates wildly, so that you just never know. We were informed in August what the subsidy would be for 2019. So it's always kind of a waiting game and trying to make sure you're careful with that budget until you know what happens and deal with that. So, but it's probably best to look at the dwelling rent and utilities income along with the project expenditures, which is that first line under expenses, because those are the expenses related to those 2 properties. So we are going to do some small capital improvements at Wildwoods with the maintenance reserve there, so some of those expenses are a little bit higher this year, and then contract costs and utility expenses are expected to be a little bit higher, so that's why those expenses increased. Then if you go back up to the income, the admin fees and rental licensing, those are, the rental licensing is covered by the city of Morris, so any expenses that go above those license fees is covered by the city. The admin fees include admin from rental assistance, which is about $85,000. From the rehab program, we have about $30,000, maybe 35, we'll see how that goes. And we also are managing a rural development property. That brings in a little bit of income as well, so that's where that comes from.
Now, where does the excess utilities come in?
Excess utilities is the fees that you charge tenants for things like using an air conditioner in the apartment, so you charge a fee for the season for the
Oh.
electricity, because they can't be metered separately.
Okay,
So that's what those are.
okay. Thank you.
Yep. And then, other income, we had, that's the normal stuff, laundry, cable, move-outs, things like that. But we've also, the board decided to pay the public housing program rent for the use of the space there for offices. So, there's about $12,000, about $1,000 a month that'll come from the general fund into the public housing fund. Just to acknowledge for HUD that we're using a lot of the space for office now.
It's more of a pass, or it's
Yeah,
a wash, but
no,
it's
right,
good for
in the
auditors too.
whole
Good
budget.
for auditors too, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. But when you ask HUD for permission to use those spaces, they want to see something happen
Right.
in there, so that's what that's about. The operating subsidy, the budget in 2018 was $100,000. We actually received $150,000 because we were fully funded for the first time in a long, long time. In 2019, the budget was $140,000, but we're actually receiving $104,000. So, again, that's one of those numbers that's hard to estimate. You calculate what you are eligible for according to HUD's rules to subsidize the public housing, and then that's typically prorated according to whatever funds are allocated by Congress. So, those are all things that change as the year goes on. And then we are asking for a small increase in the tax levy of just 1.5%. And I think we're able to break even be pretty close to that. So if you go down to the expenses, as I said, the project expenditures are about the properties that we own, the administration, salaries, the board has chosen to do a 2% wage increase. And then there's not all that much that's changed, except that you will see in the end that total administration has gone up about 8% without paying that $12,000 office rent, which is considered an expense here in this line. It would be about 5.4. And that's, our accounting fees, our audit fees went up dramatically. The small auditor that we were using in the past has gone out of business. So we're using a bigger company with bigger expenses. Other than that, if you look further down, there's nothing all that unusual except in general expenses. That's gone down quite a bit because we have paid off the first mortgage on Wildwood, as it says there. There still is a $49,000 0% loan from MHFA on Wildwood that is due 2025. So we will continue to allocate money every year to save up for that payment to 2025. So there is a little bit of an adding error there. I don't know if any of you caught that, but the $500 in collection losses didn't end up in that last number. So, so that shows, about an $880 loss. I think we can handle that. I was trying to get as close to break even as we can and hold our expenses. The last little graph there is just about the funds that come in and are kind of passed through our office into the community or into the county. And that ends up being about $755,000 each year.
And we are starting that rehab project. That's-
Yes, we have the rehab project going, yes, with the rental properties. Mhm.
And it's in Morris.
Yes, it is in Morris this year.
Melanie's on salary, you said that the board's giving a 2%, and you have 5%ers. Are you guys on the steps?
Yeah, yeah.
Then do you guys carry a reserve fund? Also?
We do have a small reserve. There's reserve requirements for almost every program that we have. So there's a reserve for the public housing, a reserve for Wildwood. For the tax credit, you're required to actually deposit a certain amount every month. And there's, we do keep, the rental licensing is a little bit funny, so we keep a little bit of money in there. So yes, there is some reserve.
Do the apartments stay pretty full?
Grandview Apartments and Wildwood pretty much stay full. We have had some vacancy issues just in the last year. Grandview is a little bit easier to fill. Each one of those programs has different income limits as well. So that kind of fluctuates. But there are more vacancies in Morrison, so we see a lot more turnover.
Any other questions for Melanie? Not, is there a motion to approve the resolution?
Madam Chair, go ahead. Did you? Go ahead.
Motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
Motion and second to approve the resolution approving special benefit tax levy of Housing and Redevelopment Authority of Stevens County pursuant to Minnesota statute section 469.033 subdivision 6 and approving the budget for fiscal year 2020. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the budget with the notes too, Melanie, that really,
Good, that helps.
yeah,
I'll continue that.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
thanks.
Thanks for bringing the Hancock Mayor along.
Yeah. We like to bring our dignitaries.
You have a good day, Bruce.
Last year I had the flu, so I didn't make it.
Yeah.
I didn't dare figure it.
He left me.
Morning, Todd.
Good morning. Well, we'll start out, got a little bit of an update and one request. So I'm going to start with my request for the annual approval of the resolution to transfer the excess of 2 years of municipal distribution into the municipal construction account. From the municipal construction account to the regular construction account, and that helps keep that municipal construction account now to 2 years a lot. And then we just roll that in. And then the main thing is that we don't get it so high that we end up hurting ourselves. And that's something that we've done, I think, since 2016.
Okay. All right, is there a motion to approve that resolution?
I'll approve that, move to approve the resolution.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and second to approve resolution number 190903-19. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, the next item, we've been talking, going back and forth here for the last year or so with Justin at PennDOT. They're going to be doing a cold-in-place recycle between Chicago and Morris for 2020. Part of that project is going to be some crossings, some culvert crossings there for County Ditch 18 that they've got worked into their plan also. But the intersections on some county and some county state aids roads are going to get paved back to the right-of-way. And we're kind of meeting in the middle on that, but we're paying for some of them to go back from the back of the radius to the right of way. That way we do get a new approach on that roadway. And that'll be using state aid funds and some maintenance funds. The engineering staff, we're still working on the DNR and the technical evaluation panel. Schedule a meeting to determine the runout elevation on that Alberta WMA. We got out, we
Who's the
surveyed
local-
last week.
Who's the local technical evaluation panel?
That
Who
would
is that?
be Matt. Matt sets that up.
Okay.
I checked with him a while ago. I'm not sure who's exactly on that
Doesn't
panel.
Bill Kleindall serve on that too?
He is.
Yeah, it's Bill, Matt, and
Emily?
I think it's Emily. I think there's
Yep,
three.
I think she's on there.
I think that's it.
And it's different between the two counties, over in Big Stone, Darren Wilkie, who's our environmental services officer, he would set that up, I guess, but over here it's Matt, I did check with Matt, he said, yeah, he would do it. I have a call into Kevin Cox, because he has the easement on there, I was gonna talk to him first, if he hasn't called me back, so I'll have to bug him again here today.
On the Alberta WMA too, just an FYI for the board, that we're gonna present to AMC Environmental Committee, or Todd's gonna help. I volunteered him to help at the fall policy, just to kind of give him a heads up of some of the struggles we face with the local process, and potentially see if there'd be some support from the policy committee on supporting an appeals process if we draft some legislation with Western and Backer this spring. So Todd and John, one or both will come, I'll be there, and Commissioner Staples serves on the environmental policy committee too, so I just wanted everybody to have a heads up that that's coming. I dragged everybody into it. You're welcome.
All right. All the requirements for the RDF Stevens right-of-way permit appear to have been met, I guess, so the routing and information details, there's a few things that need to be worked out, but we're gonna work that out as we go. Mostly down around those little legs that are down around the District 45 down in there, just to make sure they stay within the right-of-way. Did have a call this morning, farmer down on County Road 8, you know, is concerned about that county tile that's in 8, and you know, and when they put that in, falling through any of the tile outlets that they have, so we'll try and address those as they come along. From last month's meeting.
So Todd, excuse me, I got a request. When that final route is done, can we get a good map of that, or a good,
Sure.
I mean, because we've gone through all this, and we really don't know exactly where it's going, so if you could, and then there's no hurry, I know there's probably still deciding some of it even, but,
We have a pretty solid one.
okay,
There's
if you
always
could get that to us, I'd
details that gotta
appreciate
be
it.
worked out.
Because I have people ask me exactly where it's gonna go. and-
Sure.
There's a lot of boring being done already, isn't there?
Yeah, that's the Center Point Energy, the gas line that runs along, that's with the project.
That they have to put in, right?
I didn't realize that until they sent them for the permit to put that gas line in. But yeah, the gas line will be on one side of the road, and the biogas will be on the other side.
But if you could do that, I'd appreciate it, thank
Yeah.
you.
And I did ask, I mean, the reason why they gotta be on opposite sides of the road is so some of it doesn't tap into the wrong pipeline. That's a good idea. Keep us separated as
So
we
Todd,
can.
on County Road 8, there's a telephone line that runs that offset where they have their stakes, you know?
Yeah.
And where are they gonna put it there? I mean, is it gonna, a 10-foot offset from the stakes that they have? It'll be on the south side of that?
I guess, yeah. Yep, that's the way I understand it.
Evidently, the land is infringed on the
Yeah,
right-of-way
so
also.
we've got that on our list to put some right-of-way stakes out there next year, or maybe this fall yet.
Because they'll have to destroy some crop, the way it looks.
Yep, I didn't realize that that was encroaching in as far as it was until they staked that, so.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because we don't want any crops over the top of that pipeline when we're done. I guess from last month's meeting, it appears the board wishes to extend the township contract to December 31st. And is the highway committee going to meet and talk about those township rates? We'll set that up. I was going to ask Aaron, I don't know if maybe you guys can answer it, do we need to have them sign an extension contract, or can we just extend those?
I think you do an amendment to the contract and just.
Have them sign it?
Yeah, yep.
Well, send that out then, okay. We'll get that done today. For maintenance, they're currently full width mowing. They're using the 3/8 backwind mowers. They're changing out between that, blading, mowing, hauling some gravel. On the rain days, they've been working on the cold storage building. They got both of those garage doors in. Don't have the garage door openers in yet, but both those garage doors are now installed. And 2 trucks and pups have been in there all summer, so they've been using them. As time allows, they've also been removing the deteriorated mixing pad back at the salt storage buildings. We have our salt building, and then we have our salt sand building. And then right in between, we have a mixing pad. So when they get a load of salt in, they'll lay that salt out and they'll push it up into the building. Then when they're mixing, they'll pull out and they'll mix the salt and the sand back and forth with the loader and then push it in the salt sand building. And they were starting to get some bituminous chunks in the sanders last year, which is a problem. We don't want those on the road, and and it plugs up to Sanders too. It's something that we've been budgeting for, along with culvert replacement, for about the last 3-4 years, probably as long as I've been here. And we always burn it up with culvert replacements every year, so. This year, we're working on that, and we will get it paved here. We're doing everything but the paving ourselves, just as time allows. Dustin and Ken have been out there doing some of that removal, so.
So I can interrupt a second?
Sure.
So I know in the past you've talked about that the shed itself is, what kind of condition is that in? Is that something we need to be looking at when we do this
Well, it's okay.
highway project?
I think we'll get,
I mean, I think we
some more
should,
years
we should
out
talk
of
about it anyway.
We could get it as an alternate on the bid, at least. I mean, I think you're right, if you're gonna bond and rates are favorable, it might be
Well,
okay
the
to
time
look
to
at
do it
it.
if it's gonna need to be done in the next 5 years or whatever.
Yeah,
I am just,
I think we
Yeah.
probably, what we're gonna do, we have to empty it out, because we have to pave inside those buildings also, and we're gonna resheet it with plywood on the inside of that salt sand building. It's pretty sturdy buildings, but, the sidewalls get dinged up a little bit when we're
Moving
moving
stuff,
stuff. Yeah, and we did find that one garage door, they must have replaced it, and that fiberglass one, they stuck it up in the rafters, I suppose for parts, so we can throw that away now. We saved that one for a lot of years. So I guess moving down to, the non-emergency repairs on aprons and culverts. Brian's been trying to get 1 or 2 of them done every week. We had a pretty good separation down on County Road 10 on one of the approaches down there just east of the Fish and Wildlife that they did last week. And so most of those are still going to be FEMA repairs. For engineering, we're working still on the plat survey and appraisals with the goal of holding a landowner meeting. That's for the CASA 1 project, grading project for 2020. I think there's just a handful of landowners. We did meet with 3 of them already that the main curve is going to affect. They'll be impacted the most. And we're pretty favorable for the project. We're collecting quotes and doing the DNR permit to replace a failed culvert on County Road 61, just north of the junction on Trunk Highway 9, there by East Spears. That one was plugged here this spring, and it was getting pretty high over on the west side, so we did get in there with the excavator and banged around on it. I think we damaged the outlet end, apparently it was plugged. It's pretty deep and it's all in the water, so we need to get some quotes and get that repaired. All seasonal patching has now been completed. They just got the advanced warning, stop condition rumble strips down in there last week. We've got a guy from Southern Minnesota that comes up and brings them in for us. And we're also obtaining quotes for repair of a 48-inch culvert separation between Morrison and Alberta there on 68. The engineering staff just discovered a slope failure this summer when they were looking at it. And when we go inside of it, there's some places where the culvert sections are separated completely by about 4 inches. So that's a pretty deep cut. It's over 20 feet, and they're going to have to go all the way to the shoulder of the road. So that's going to be a spendy one, but something that we're going to have to do. We also have a 36-inch culvert out by Daily Electric out on 10. That's got a similar problem. Both the inlet and the outlet aprons are tilted, and they're just not even working. So I'm going to try to get that fixed at the same time. Engineering is also, engineering being mostly Scott, spraying county ditches, preparing for the final meeting for the County Ditch 18 improvement project. I talked to Scott today about what he's sprayed this summer, and he did the east half of County Ditch 1, the south half of County Ditch 2, pretty much all of County Ditch 4. JD2, he said that they've requested that it all be sprayed this fall for trees and weeds, because we're getting a lot of these little sapling weed trees that are starting down there. And then the main ditch on County Ditch 15, he'd like to hire that down for the cattails. We did that on 25 here a couple of years ago, and it worked out pretty good. So, also County Ditch 22, I guess there's been some requests to get that sprayed this fall. So he has been doing a lot of spraying, and I've always said that you can only tell because there's no complaints coming in. We used to get a lot of complaints about trees and weeds, and so Scott's been doing a pretty good job of keeping up with that. And other than that, I think that's all I have.
I've got a question for you. That Center Point gas line, is that running out to the dairy past Ingebrigtsen's only, or is
Nope,
that
it's
going
going
down
to
to
all
all
three of them.
three of them?
Yep, it started in town, and it goes to the main dairy, and then goes out to West River, and then a line down to District 45.
Do you have any idea if the people along there will have access to that pipeline?
I asked the guy, and he didn't sound like, you know, the guy that I talked to was the inspector for Centerpoint. He said that's between engineering and the business office, but he did not think it wasn't upsized enough, because I was thinking like a grain dryer. And he said it's
I
not
heard somebody
upsized.
asked me about it.
Yeah.
Well, they were wondering if that was part of the bio, and I said, no, my understanding is it's a separate gas line.
Yep, yep. And he, you know, a house might be able to hook up to it, you know, because that would be a relatively, low use.
This was a grain dryer, so.
Yeah, I don't think it has the capacity for
So
that.
who pays for that? The installation?
Oh, center points?
So they're willing to do that just for that?
I guess.
I mean,
I don't know how that got
It's
worked
not,
out.
doesn't work that way, you know, like internet, they don't wanna go out to places like that, most
Yeah.
counties, so.
Yeah.
Yep, it's a 6-inch line, so there's gonna be some pretty good gas usage there.
Interesting.
You know, unless they could, in it, the way I understand it, it's used to heat the digesters,
Yeah.
so that they can keep them running.
You think Centerpoint would wanna get some of their money back by having customers on the line?
Yeah,
I mean, that's how they would be.
I would think they would have
Some of that.
surveyed that
Yeah.
and upsized it a little bit. Unless they can, somehow shut those digesters down around corn drying season and run some dryers off and share it back and forth that way, I don't know.
Huh.
But otherwise, yeah, I wasn't aware that they were putting that line in until the permit came across it, so.
Thanks.
Yep,
Thanks,
thank
Todd.
you.
Becky?
I'll be quick. I just wanted to update you, the notice went in for the, oh, let's get my paperwork straight. The notice went in for the, bond hearing for the 10th of September, next Tuesday night at 7 PM. There will be a rough draft that'll get sent out. It had to go in this past weekend again, and the agenda did because I switched publication dates, so it'll be published Tuesdays now, not this weekend, but next weekend. So that's why the agenda went in this weekend. You will get a board packet this week, and in that will be the final draft of the capital improvement plan that'll be presented by Jessica and myself. And then it's a hearing, so you'll take public comment, and then if the board so desires, there'll be a resolution that'll also be there for potential support moving forward of that. So I just kind of wanted to update you that there will be more information coming this week, but the agenda had to go a week earlier because of the publication date switching, so. If there's anything else you need before then, you can let me or Todd or whoever know as well, so.
Okay.
That's all I had.
All right, is there commissioner reports?
One thing, I won't be at the meeting tomorrow for the landowners meeting, I'm going to a hearing in St. Paul. We had CPT, we had you could call it a repeat, I suppose, our last board meeting, we had about 4 hours, 3-4 hours of AMC helping us with bylaws. There'll be a lot of progress in doing it. Bylaws for the company straightened out. We're gonna do that again in September. At the HRA meeting, chamber, we're gearing up for the Prairie Pioneers Days out at the fairgrounds, so that's going well. Got a lot of new stuff. Should be. Then the fair board's having an enduro races on Saturday night to complement that, to get more people out there. I guess that's about it for me.
We went on the Bois de Sioux tour, and that was quite interesting for me. I'd never been on it before. I hadn't seen the Ann Palmer up there. That was pretty impressive, and it was kind of a crappy day though. You couldn't hardly see out of the bus. It was so dark and rainy. I don't know if Ron's got anything to add to that trip or not.
No.
Thank you. Well,
I don't have anything.
so we had the Palm de Terre tour on last Wednesday, and it was a very good tour, but was really good to have those state officials out here to see what we do with the money that they've given us so far. And they were very impressed, and they really liked getting out of St. Paul. They said that was a really nice opportunity for them too. They do that once a year. They do a outstate tour. So, and then Historical Society on Sunday night for Prairie Pioneer Days, we have the museum is open, and then at 6 o'clock starting, there's music on the lawn, and then they'll do we do an annual musical inside the museum after that. So there's local musicians that are going to be playing. So with that, if there's nothing else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned.
Same.
Motion and second to adjourn at 9:30 a.m. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you for checking.